I'm just gonna say it because nobody else is saying it, even though we're all thinking it. The American dream is to leave America.
People are always saying that the average American makes $45,000 a year. Where does the average American work? I want to make $45,000 a year. Are you kidding me? The most I have ever made is $30,000.
How are we expecting people to rent when they have to pay first and last month's rent plus a security deposit?
Don't get me wrong, I love being single and I love living alone. It's great, it's fantastic, but fuck, it's expensive. I just spent $600 on brakes on my car, just on the front part of the car, because I couldn't afford all 4 brakes and axles and rotors and whatever the fuck. And then now I just paid my car payment, which is $500, so I just blew $1,100 in like 3 hours, and it wasn't even like fun, you know? Fuck.
Hey besties, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a topic that hits close to home for so many of us. Literally. We're talking about why the cost of living is so high that most people can't afford their lives anymore. Why are millennials and Gen Z still living with their parents? Why is rent so astronomical? And why is it that even with jobs, side hustles, and degrees, we still don't have savings? Let's get into it because, besties, this isn't just adulting, this is survival mode. Buckle up.
I don't understand prices for anything. Like, how is a flight from LAX to New York the same price as a coffee table, which is the same price as therapy without health insurance? How does that make any sense at all?
How are people affording life right now? How are people tackling this cost of living on the average American salary? I just watched a TikTok of a teacher who makes a teacher's salary. I don't know what state she's in, so I don't know how much she makes, but her 1-bedroom apartment is $2,000. And when she spends $2,000 on that 1-bedroom apartment, it doesn't even come with a washer and dryer. So she has to go pay an additional $2 every time she wants to use their washer and dryer. Okay, like, how does that leave her any extra money to spend? And then she said she had a $400 car payment, which some people were bashing her on that. But in today's economy with interest rates, that's really not that bad. And I'm sure she needs a dependable car. So you talk about teacher's salary, $2,000 in rent, $400 car payment, you got insurance, you got groceries, electricity. Like, I don't understand how people are affording life right now, and it really makes me sad for some people. You have people who are like her. She's single, she has her own salary, or families where it just works out best for them for the mother to stay home. And if the father is just making an average American salary, how are they affording life without going in a bunch of debt? This lady who's a teacher started crying because she said she realizes on her salary and where she lives, she will actually end up in more debt. Then, like, she will just continue to accrue more debt and more debt and more debt because her salary is not matching the cost of living. And what's sad is I've seen people be like, just spend less. Listen, guys, the cost of living is rising and our salaries are stagnant, okay? So there's not just spend less. That's not the problem here. The problem is the cost of living is outrageous, and minimum wage in some states is still $7.25. Teachers in some states are still paid a ridiculously low salary, even though their job is super important. I don't know what we can do about this, but I'm just going on a rant because it really, really pisses me off.
How are we expecting people to rent when they have to pay first and last month's rent plus a security deposit? I have a family member, he's not on this app, and he is trying to get into an apartment complex, big corporate-owned apartment complex here in Tampa. 2-bedroom, 1 bath, 800 square feet, $1,600 a month. They have horrible reviews on Google. Not a great part of town, but it's what he can afford right now. And, you know, he knows it's a temporary thing. So he asked me if I'd be willing to co-sign on this apartment because this apartment complex is asking for first and last month's rent plus a large security deposit. And I said, no problem. I'd rather you take that money that you would normally have to apply towards the application process to get moved in and instead focus on, like, buying yourself groceries when you get moved in and having the funds to set up your utilities and all the things. And I went ahead and submitted all the documents that they asked of me, which was 3 months worth of bank statements, our 2023 tax return, as well as copies of contracts and payments made for my clients because I'm a 1099 employee, to show them that basically if for some reason he weren't able to pay his rent, it would default to me, and including my social security number, so they'd come after me. No problem. I trust this family member wholeheartedly and have no issue doing that. So I submitted all those documents, and they called him today. And yes, they are still asking for first and last month's rent, and they are still requesting a security deposit. They lowered it. But let me just set the stage here. $1,600 a month is the rent. I provided them documentation to show that one of my clients, just one client that pays me in a month, would cover over 12 months of his rent. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying this because this is the level of absurdity we have reached. You have someone that's co-signing to ensure that that apartment is paid for, that has proof, documentation, proof of funds to show that just one of my payments from one of my clients in a month that I provided a contract to show would cover his rent for the entire year. And yet that's not good enough to waive a security deposit or still make him pay first and last month's rent. What are we doing? Like, why are we making Gen Z like not be able to have a place to live? This is absurd. Like, I don't understand why somebody needs to be making over $1 million to show that you could waive the security deposit and not make them pay last month's rent. Like, I essentially showed them collectively that my husband and I make, I'm not going to say how much it is, but it's absurd. Because if he doesn't have a co-signer, like, how do people move into those places then? I don't get it. I don't understand what we're doing to this generation. Then I see a news report that mortgage rates are climbing back up again, 5-month high, 6.85%. I ain't buying in that market unless I can pay cash. So we rent. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that for us. But I'm also 20 years older. Like, and I've already lived, I don't, like, this is stupid at this point. I guess, what is that generation supposed to do if you don't have somebody co-signing for you? How do you expect them to come up with that type of cash for $1,600 a month rent? I don't understand what we're doing here. I don't understand it.
Let's start with rent. Remember when people used to say that if you work hard, you'll afford your own place by your mid-20s? Yeah, that was a lie. In cities all across America, and honestly globally, rent has skyrocketed to absurd levels. In major metros like New York, San Francisco, and Los Angeles, a one-bedroom apartment can easily cost upwards of $2,500 a month. And it's not like wages are keeping up with that. Minimum wage in many places is still below $10, and even if you're making a decent salary, after rent, utilities, internet, and transportation, you're left with crumbs. Millennials and Gen Z aren't lazy. They're broke because basic survival is unaffordable.
Don't get me wrong, I love being single and I love living alone. It's great, it's fantastic, but fuck, it's expensive. I just spent $600 on brakes on my car, just on the front part of the car, because I couldn't afford all 4 brakes and axles and rotors and whatever the fuck. And then now I just paid my car payment, which is $500, so I just blew $1,100 in like 3 hours, and it wasn't even like fun, you know? Fuck. Sorry, it's just so overwhelming. Like, you work and 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 you work, and it's just to pay off like your basic necessities. And you can't, like, in this city that I live in, public transport, please. If I were to do public transport, it's like asking to get raped, and I really shouldn't be crying because now I have to go to another work event, and now I'm gonna be all puffy. Living is so expensive. Just keeping yourself alive and floating is so expensive. And what I was saying before I was rudely interrupted
is if I were to take public transport here, especially for my job requires a car. I have to have a bunch of shit that I have to lug with me for work. And I can't do that with public transport. I'm venting. Inflation sucks. Just living in America sucks. Living alone sucks. It's great, but it sucks. Because you have to front all the expenses by yourself. I need a husband just so that I can live. So we can split the bills.
I'm going to explain to you guys how much more expensive things are today than they were even 3 years ago based off of my current financial situation. So 4 years ago, when I graduated law school, I graduated making $65,000 a year. I was living in a 1-bedroom by myself, paying $1,400 a month. After the first 3 months, my boyfriend moved in, and so then we were splitting it, so it was $700 a piece. But he lost his job at one point, and so for 3 months before he got a new one, I was covering the rent all by myself. So it was about 6 months of me paying $1,400 a month for that year-long lease. Now I make about $85,000 a year. I have 2 roommates, and we split the rent 3 ways. And usually my rent is like $950, something around that. So I'm making technically $20,000 more a year. I'm paying roughly the same of what I was paying in rent. And I have never been more stressed out about money in my entire life.
Besties, let's talk income. While rent, gas, groceries, and medical expenses are all going up, wages haven't kept up since the early 2000s. In fact, adjusted for inflation, many people today are making less than their parents did at their age. That's right, your mom bought a house at 24 and had 2 kids by 27 on one income, and here you are splitting rent with 3 roommates and still eating ramen. It's not because we don't budget. It's because the math simply doesn't work. You can't save what you don't have. The system is broken, and we're the ones holding the shattered pieces.
How are people affording life right now? How are people tackling this cost of living?
I really have no fucking clue how people afford this day and age with normal average jobs. And it's like, I was a server for almost 8 years and I never once made more than like 40 grand. And that was me making decent money. I was making $20 to $30 an hour. But it doesn't matter because the average cost to live in America is like 3 grand a month or something. And that times 12 is like almost 40 grand, you know? Maybe that was enough money to live off of 4 or 5, more like 20 fucking years ago. It's unfortunate, but it's just not enough money anymore. And it's like the video that I stitched. She was talking about how someone she knew was a teacher and how she didn't make enough money. My best friend is a teacher. She is so passionate. She is so knowledgeable about what she does, but she will never make the amount of money that she deserves, you know? She still lives with her fucking mom, and I don't blame her. I still live with my parents, even though I'm making really good money, because I know that the second that I move out, I'm going to be throwing away quadruple the amount of money that I already am because shit is just so damn expensive. Like I said, I don't have a quote-unquote normal job anymore. I work online. I do affiliate and digital marketing, and everything that I do to make money is at the top on my page. If you want help doing what I'm doing, please reach out. I would love to help you. But yeah, it genuinely hurts me to sit here and think that people who are such hard workers, who have so much knowledge, are just not getting paid what they deserve, especially my best fucking friend.
Oh, $1,600 a month. That's how much I pay in rent. Oh, that's your problem.
As a Gen Xer, and I am an asshole Gen Xer sometimes, I always get on to millennials about certain things, but I have to agree, millennials can't afford this shit. I, as a single Gen Xer, can barely afford to live. I can afford my mortgage. I can afford, my power bill, and I can afford my phone bill and my internet bill, because nowadays you have to have internet if you want to survive. I can barely afford groceries. I can't afford a car. How do we get to this point? How did we get to this fucking point where we have allowed the government and big corporations and big pharma and the medical industry to just take over our lives? Back in my day, I had a 1-bedroom apartment when I first moved out at the age of 18 in 1992, 93. I moved out and I had a 1-bedroom apartment in South Florida for $500 and some a month that I was able to afford with my power bill and my car and my groceries and my, and I had fun. I went out and I had fun and I got fucked up and I did all the things that I wanted to do at that age. I can't do that shit now. I literally work, I come home, I work, I come home. On my off days, I stay home because I can't afford to do anything else. I understand and I understand that we're going through a major transition in finances and in governments and in truth, and there's a huge awakening happening. I'm having a hard time going through it right now. I'm having a hard time waiting for all these changes to happen. I'm lucky enough that my home right now that I purchased close to 10 years now, I can still afford it. It's $1,100 a month. It used to be $900. Now it's $1,100, so it's gone up. I can still afford it on my own. But God forbid anything happened and I had to leave here, I would have to seriously downgrade from my home that I have built, that I have taken care of, that I have paid for. Because $1,100 a month now that I pay for this house now isn't going to get me much out there. It might get me a 3-bedroom apartment. I had an apartment, 14 years ago with my ex-husband and my 3 kids. It was about $585 a month. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, decent apartment, yada, yada. That same apartment right now is going for $1,000 a month. $1,000. And back then it included cable and water and trash. Now it doesn't include any of those things. So that's extra. Bro, millennials are having a hard time. They really are. And it's not just millennials. I mean, a lot of us are having a hard time, even Gen Xers. Like I don't have any stocks and bonds. I got rid of my 401k when I left my corporate job to get rid of all the stress. I'm fucked if anything should happen. And I understand that things are happening because they're supposed to happen the way they are, because the financial systems have to break down in order for us to receive our quantum wealth. But bro, life is hard right now. And I don't know enough to know whether it's like this throughout the entire world or if it's just the United States. And if it's just the United States, then they're doing this on purpose to keep us enslaved to the system. Back in my day, I remember being able to take vacations and go on trips and go shopping and buy whatever the hell I wanted and still pay my bills and still have money saved. Now, I work, I come home. I work, I come home. On my days off, like today, I'm sitting out here doing TikToks, cleaning my house, twiddling my thumbs. I don't even have groceries in my cupboard. So today, I'm pretty much just winging it. I found 2 eggs this morning, so I ate those, but I don't have anything. I don't even have a car where I can go out right now because I can't afford a car. I afford my home, my power bill, my internet bill, my phone bill, just the bare necessities. And food, apparently right now, is not a necessity. As a server, I eat at the restaurant, and when I am off, I wing it, and that's it. And that's really fucking sad at my age.
Let's kill the stigma. Living with your parents as an adult used to be seen as a failure. Now, it's economic strategy. More than half of millennials and Gen Z are still living at home. Not because they want to, but because they literally can't afford to leave. And honestly, can we blame them? Rent alone would take 50% or more of their income, and that's before utilities, student loans, and car payments. Living at home is the only way some people can save anything or stay out of debt. This isn't a sign of laziness. This is what happens when the cost of adulthood is higher than most salaries.
People are always saying that the average American makes $45,000 a year. Where does the average American work? I want to make $45,000 a year. Are you kidding me? The most I have ever made is $30,000 in a year. Where are these people working that they're making $45,000? Like, don't just tell me that they're making $45,000 a year. Where do they work?
Can we talk about inflation for a second? I went for a run and, as you know, have my best thoughts when I was running. And I was thinking about how the other day I went to Larchmont and I ordered a matcha. It was $6.25. And when they punched it in, it said $7.50. And I was like, excuse me, why does it say $7.50 when you've punched it in? And she's like, oh yeah, we raised the prices, but we haven't updated the board yet. And I was like, and she said, oh, also if you want almond or oat milk, it's going to be an additional 75 cents. And I'm like, well, I will not be having that, thank you. I'm not spending $10 on a matcha, which P.S., I don't like that I drink matcha, but coffee gives me anxiety, so I had to switch. I know it's bougie. But anyway, $10, like with the tax, with the tip, that's insane. And then I went to my local coffee shop and the same thing happened. I ordered my matcha, it used to be $6 and now it's $7.50. I'm no mathematician, but I think that's like a 25% increase, which is absolutely bonkers. That's way above the 3% cost of living inflation increase. And then I got a book off my shelf and it was from when I first moved to LA. There was a receipt in there. It was like my first diner breakfast. And I looked at the prices and just compared. An omelet used to be $12, now it's $15. A friend came to town and I was looking for happy hour drinks because, you know, trying to save some money. And you know how Google Maps has like images? I saw an image of an old menu from 4 years ago. The happy hour beverages were $8. Now they're $12. Can you imagine 4 years ago thinking that $12 was a deal for a happy hour beverage? That's absolutely crazy. So like, what is happening here? Why is everything so much more expensive? Also, my health insurance is an extra $100 a month. So that's $1,200 a year. Like everything in the last year is so much more expensive. And again, is way beyond the 3 to 6% inflation increase that we should be seeing. So what is going on? Like, how are we supposed to stay afloat?
Here's the scariest part, besties. Most people don't have savings. Like, at all. One unexpected bill, an emergency room visit, a car repair, or even losing a job can push someone from barely surviving to being unhoused. Gen Z and millennials are living paycheck to paycheck, and it's not because they're buying avocado toast. It's because every dollar they earn is already spoken for. Rent, utilities, debt, gas, groceries. There's nothing left to save. And with inflation only getting worse, people aren't just falling behind, they're being left behind.
I'm just gonna say it because nobody else is saying it, even though we're all thinking it. The American dream is to leave America. I traveled the world for 6 months straight by myself. 4 months in Asia, 2 months in Europe. And no, don't come at me. I've been on my own since I was 18 years old. And yes, of course, I'm blessed to be an American. I'm blessed to have a strong passport. And I'm blessed that I've been able to start my own business and travel the world. But I'm telling you, I've been home for over a year now. There's not one city in the United States that makes my soul feel alive, that makes me feel like I have community, that makes me feel like people are loving and respectful and not divided and judgmental. It's toxic here. We have no love here. People literally think that I'm the crazy one. And I'm like, you guys, we're falling apart. I find so much more love and so much more support, so much more community in Bali. I'm in Spain. When I'm in Italy. When I'm in Thailand. I've traveled to 10 different countries by myself. I'm telling you, being here will strip your soul. I say this because I want to see if anyone else is feeling this way. And if you need help, like I want to get out as well and I need direction to make money online and support myself financially abroad, please contact me. I'm a business coach. I can help you.
Let's talk mental health. The constant stress of trying to keep your head above water takes a serious toll. Imagine waking up every day knowing you're one flat tire away from financial ruin. Imagine working 2 or 3 jobs just to afford basic necessities and still feeling like you're failing. That's what people are going through. Anxiety, depression, burnout. It's all connected to the high cost of living. And worst of all, many people feel ashamed, like it's their fault they can't get ahead. But bestie, this isn't your fault. This is the result of an economic system that's failed an entire generation. Phew, that was a lot, besties. But it needed to be said. We are not imagining this. The cost of living is genuinely out of control, and millennials and Gen Z are being crushed under it. From unaffordable rent to unlivable wages, from zero savings to skyrocketing anxiety, the struggle is real, and it's systemic. It's time we start talking about this loudly and honestly. Because if we don't, we'll just keep blaming ourselves for a broken system. So if you're living with your parents, if your savings account is empty, If you're burned out from just trying to exist, you're not alone. We're all in this together, besties. Until next time, adios, besties.